I'd like for everybody to take a look at this paper. What do you see here?
A dot.
Eli.
Black dot.
Black dot. Good. Chucky.
Loneliness.
Loneliness. Benny.
It's not directly in the middle. It's closer to one side than the other.
Okay. Nice observation. Freddie.
Because the rest of the paper is white and that's black, the minority appears closer.
Okay. Last one, Jacob.
A black paper that's painted on white.
Come on.
So it's interesting that every single person in this room noticed that there was a black dot on a white paper. What's odd is that the majority of the paper is white, yet we were so focused in on the small little dot that sat in the middle of the page. Just so you know, I also, the first time I saw this, only saw a black dot. And I want to share a story with you guys. This was almost typical and standard for me on a Friday night dinner. But one in particular stood out. There was one night where my mother, as always, cooked Friday night dinner. And it happened to be that my favorite item on the table, pastrami puffs, it's my number one item. Anybody that knows me knows I love pastrami puffs, was burnt. A tragedy. And the first thought that came to my mind, there's an entire table of beautiful food, but the first thought that came to my mind and the first comments that I gave to my mother after she had worked so hard to prepare a nice meal for the family was, "Ma, I cannot believe you burnt the pastrami puffs." This is what I had to say. There's so many other items and she worked so hard. Yet the only thing that I could think about and the only thing that I thought was relevant in terms of comment and feedback was to talk about the black dot on the white page. And the question is, why do we do this? Why do we see the world so negatively? And what could we do about it? So let's first recognize why it's happening. So I want to offer two ideas. Number one, our brains are hardwired to process information negatively. And it's for a very, very good reason. Let's go back in time to the evolution of the human species. And let's talk about survival of the fittest. Now there were animals, there were other humans that were threatening to other people's existence. And if you could not detect or identify those threats, chances are you ended up dead. So the hardwiring in our brains over time has forced us to feel threats and to be so cautious about what it is that we're experiencing, literally to protect our own lives. Number one. Number two, we feel emotions all the time. Now, you cannot control your emotions. This is not something that is up to you to consider, right? If somebody comes from behind you and says, "Boo," you can't control if you feel afraid, right? If somebody comes over to you and tells you something that makes you feel sad, you can't just say, "Nah, I'm not in the mood for sadness today, go away." You just feel it. And so the problem is, we in our vocabulary and we in our minds can identify with more negative emotions than positive. So much so that Robert Schrauf, an associate professor at the University of Penn State for applied linguistics, conducted a study. And he asked the people who were getting surveyed to try to come up with as many words as possible that can identify words associated with feelings. And the percentages were 50% of those words were negative, 30% of them were positive, and 20% were neutral. So boys, we have to recognize a reality and a hardship that's always present for us in our lives. When we are ready to experience the world, when we process information, we are hardwired to look at it negatively, to perceive it as something that's burdensome, and there's good reason for it. But the problem is, if we think negatively all the time, we're going to grow up to be these depressed hazi cases who can't make it in life. And so we need an alternative. We need a solution. What are we going to do about it? So it's perfect timing that we are now entering a beautiful holiday. Honestly, one of my favorites. Out of all of the dates on the calendar, Thanksgiving is one of my favorite times. Right? You get to spend time with the family. You have a hadid turkey and some nice ekels.
Football.
You get to watch football. You get to spend time with your family. You don't have to worry about your planners and your homework.
No school.
Turducken.
But here's the sad reality. We can experience a holiday as awesome as Thanksgiving, and some of us might not be able to take full advantage of it, because if your objective is to just go through the holiday and just feel happy that you're off from school and to enjoy a turkey, you totally missed the point of the holiday. Thanksgiving is a time for us to reflect, and it's a time for us to recognize what good do I have in my life and how can I show appreciation for it. Things that I may not have noticed because my brain is hardwired to process the black dot on the white paper. And so imagine for a second, the white paper signifies mom making me a beautiful Hadid Shabbat dinner. It also recognizes and it identifies with dad spending time to work with me on my homework. It's also those moments in life where my friends do kind things for me. But I have a very hard time recognizing the white because that's not the way that my brain was formed. That's not the way I was hardwired to process the world around me. So every now and then, we have an opportunity to recognize the good in life and to obtain and to invest in good vibes. Another example, we say this prayer 3 times a day. Ashrei yoshevei betecha. Fortunate are those who dwell in your house. But who actually thinks about how fortunate that really is? Do we think about how amazing it is that we have an opportunity to live on this earth and to form relationships with people and to work hard and to obtain all of the beautiful wonders in life? Or do we just go through the tefillah and we just read it because it's another word on another paper? So there are average people in the world and there are special people in the world. The average people will read Ashrei yoshevei betecha and they'll just go through the words. They'll do it because it's emotion. They'll do it because it's standard practice. We'll have an opportunity to celebrate a beautiful holiday in Thanksgiving, where you can think about what good do I have in my life and what words can I say to show appreciation for that. So for me, on a Friday night back in 2008, I could have told Ma, beautiful dinner. But instead, all I was able to do was recognize the black dot and say, Ma, you burnt the pastrami puffs. What the heck? Unacceptable. Not up in here. So boys, are we average or are we special? Thanksgiving. Think about it. What good do I have in my life? Who can I thank and who can I show appreciation, hakarat hatov, to the people who have created such good for me? Special people do special things, and they do things that our brains are not hardwired to do. It's going to take a little bit of effort. It's going to hurt a little bit, but I promise you, you can do something like this. The wonders of life will be something that you can't even imagine. Happy Thanksgiving. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat.